Hi everyone, and welcome to Dr. Payne Effects, home of the pedal review show Good, Better, Best. And what we're gonna do in this video is have a little bit of fun and go over the gear that we use for the Good, Better, Best show, including a detailed look at the 3 amps. So let's go ahead and have a look. So, while filming Good, Better, Best, the primary guitar that we use is this recently purchased Squier Jazzmaster. This is the 70s edition, pretty standard Squier Jazzmaster. I haven't done anything to it. I normally am using these switches up here. I usually like to play mostly through the neck pickup, although when I do pedal demos, I'm typically putting it between the two. Obviously, anytime you hear me using a whammy, it's going to be through one of these unless the pedal is producing the sound. So overall, you know, nice, cheap Jazzmaster. It really does the job. So the next guitar in our lineup is my most recent acquisition. It is also a Squier. Oop, there's Clover. It is also a Squier. This is a Telecaster Thinline. It has wide range humbucker pickups, just a volume and tone, and 3-way pickup selector switch. I got this for a few reasons. One, I've always really liked the sound of the Fender wide range humbuckers. 2, I haven't had a guitar with humbuckers in a really long time and felt like I wanted some of the sounds. And 3, I haven't had a semi-hollow body before, so this guitar kind of gave me the best of all those worlds. So anytime I'm demoing something and using humbuckers, this is the guitar that I'll be using. So that is the Telecaster Thinline Deluxe. So this next guitar is, So this next guitar is also fairly recent acquisition. It's a pretty cool guitar. This is the Doubleneck 6.4 by Eastwood. Now the guitar typically comes stock with the guitar on top and the bass on the bottom, which for me is just not how I like to play. I tend to wear my guitars pretty low, and when I play bass, wear it pretty high, playing more like a jazz bass. So what I ended up doing is actually buying a left-hand model and flipping it, changing where some of the hardware was, flipping the strings. Still gonna get some new nuts, but the old ones are holding up for now. And so anytime I am playing bass and guitar simultaneously, testing out a pedal, or if anyone wants me to ever test out pedal on bass, I can do some shorts. This is what I'll be using. It's got 2 single coils on the guitar side, 1 single coil on the bass side. Standard volume and tone control, although of course they're reversed for me. Has a 3-way pickup selector switch for the guitar and a 3-way selector switch for playing the bass, the guitar, or playing having both signals active simultaneously. This is also one of the only double necks I know that comes with not only a trem system, but a Jazzmaster style trem system, which if you play shoegaze is kind of the name of the game. So very cool guitar. So one of the rules I made for myself when starting the Good, Better, Best channel was that we'd never use anything that was unobtainable. or had unobtainium parts, wasn't made anymore, is super vintage, or if you wanted to get it, you'd have to shell out $500–600. We may occasionally do a pedal that is a little bit harder to find, but never something crazy. That being said, this is the fourth guitar in our lineup. This is a 1967 Airline. I don't remember the number designation. It is not the Rezo glass. It is actually made of world maple. This is Clover's favorite guitar, as you can tell. But like the more famous JB Hutto / Jack White model, this one does have Valco single coil pickups that look like humbuckers. It's got volume and tone pots for both pickups, a 3-way selector switch, and a master volume. It's all original, all vintage. It's my baby, and you probably won't hear it very often on the show unless I take it out to do a sort of special thing at the end of an episode. So that's the Airline. Well, there's some of the Dr. Payne Effects pedals sitting on display. And now as we move down, we go through the pedal board setup that we have going on right now. As you can tell, it's a bit of a mess. I'm rearranging some things for myself at the moment. But pretty much start off running things through the Digitech Whammy, into the Mattoverse AirTrash. Got a boost by Spaceman and a Dr. Payne Effects boost on either side of this first top row. And then the entire top row is, besides the boost, is fuzz. We've got the Third Man Plasma Coil, MAE Maybe, Pine Box, BSOD, the King Tone Fuzz. And we go down to the bottom, we've got Fever Dream, we've got the 3 pedals out so far from the Pine Box subscription. So kind of a dirty overdrive, a distortion, and fuzz that's not fuzzy. We've got our Beatronics Dust, Bad Comrade. This is the Trust Yourself from MAE. It's a rat. Gemini Dual Fuzz, Eau Claire Thunder, Bad Passenger, Sputnik. And then from our Shoegaze Showdown, our Melee from Walrus Audio. So this is our fuzz / distortion board. Obviously, any of these I'm happy to review on the channel, so if you have any suggestions or want any of these reviewed, that's great. It's currently on the Holy Board 1, 2, 3. Clearly, I need some more space. So that is all of my drives. And then we move over here. This Polytune is acting as a buffer. So it's sitting in between there. Then we throw it through our reverbs. We got the new Keeley Parallax, Astral Destiny. I love the Mattoverse Swell Echo because it lights up amazingly. We finish it off with an MXR 6-band EQ, shortwave by Recovery, gives me kind of a vintage sound. A loop station, and then finally out through an Electro Harmonics platform compressor and limiter. We run that whole signal through the Quadramix from Mattoverse, which is my onboard mixer. And then I run that out through this dual looper that we got from Deroy Amplification up in Quebec. So running straight through from in to out brings us to our first amp, which is the Port City Pearl. The S channel brings us up here to our Supro, and then the V that I scratched in there brings us up here to our Vox Super Beetle. So we'll be talking about those next. Now, for the show, when I'm not playing a pedal that is currently stuck on my board and demonstrating how it sounds from there, what I actually do is create a separate chain, run the guitar straight into whatever pedal it is, and then I run that through this cable here into line 2 of the Quadramix, and so I turn off line 1 so we can just hear the pedal by itself. So from there, let's go ahead and move on to the amps. So our first amplifier was actually one of the first amplifiers that I got after a very small combo amp when I started playing again about a year ago. And so this is a Vox Mini Super Beetle. It has a single 10-inch Celestion designed speaker, so made in wherever by Vox. And it is actually a separate head and cab. And the Vox, again, is a solid state amplifier. We can look at the top here and see the controls. So we can switch it on. We have our volume control here. Typically, I'm keeping that somewhere between 9 and 12. It also has an onboard reverb, which is pretty good, and an onboard tremolo. Which obviously we do not use when we are playing the show, because we want the effect coming straight through the amp. And then it has bass and treble controls. For the EQ, I keep those just straight up 12 o'clock when we're doing the show. And then finally, it has a gain knob, which we keep at 0 during the show, so that we can get the cleanest signal possible going into the Vox, so you can hear as much of the pedal and how it comes out. So next we'll come over here, and that brings us to our Supro. So check that one off. So this Supro actually has an 8-inch speaker. It's, I believe they call it a 0 watt, but it's got a nice little 8-inch Supro Blues King speaker in there, running at 8 ohms. It's a pretty simple amplifier. As far as tube amps go, it only has 3 controls and a toggle switch. Has a volume, tone, which really just kind of acts as a tone sweep. And then finally it has a master volume, which is really nice because you can get tube breakup at bedroom levels. Typically, I try and run this with the volume at about 90%, using the master volume to compensate. And that way, the clean signal is pretty clean, but it does allow for the distortion channels to push the tubes a little bit. So you can really hear the difference in sounds that you can get from this little tube amp. And then finally, we go down to the cage here. This is our Port City Pearl. It's living in jail right now because that's where I have space for it. So Port City Pearl, we actually have 2 10-inch Celestion speakers in here. I forget exactly which ones they are, but they sound awesome and lush and creamy and are amazing. The Port City Pearl, if you are unfamiliar, is a boutique amp. They make them by hand to order. I was lucky enough to get this one off of Reverb for a stupid cheap price compared to what they go for new. Very simple controls. It's really based off of a Fender Twin. No frills or anything. Has a bass, middle, and treble. Again, try and keep them close to 90. Has a volume switch, which given this is a 50-watt tube amp, I keep as close to 0 as possible. has a low and high input and a brightness switch. I usually keep the brightness switch on. I think it keeps it that character. And so that is our best amp, the Port City Pearl. Finally, we end with our recording equipment. This is a mic from Sennheiser, the E609 Silver. It's designed specifically for recording instruments. It's a really nice condenser mic. And so I typically mic with the front facing the cone. For each of the amps, although given that the Port City Pearl is in stereo, I just put it on the outside cone of one of the speakers to try and keep it as equivalent as possible, given that the other two amps only have a single speaker. I run it through the Focusrite Scarlett, direct into my MacBook. I am also simultaneously recording sound through my phone. I mix the sound using GarageBand and then put it all together using iMovie. Matching up the sound sometimes is a real pain in the ass, but I think it comes out really, really good having the mic'd amps while we're doing the reviews. So that is our stuff. That is how we go about doing things. That's how I make the show. Clover's been hanging out with us this whole time. He is definitely a good helper. But we'll introduce some more of the little critters we have going around as the show continues. So again, if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. If you saw a pedal amongst all the pedals we went over, I've got a few others hiding around here too, that you would like reviewed, just let me know in the comments. Again, no unobtainium, so the Eau Claire Thunder is out, as well as the Gemini, but I think everything else is fairly widely available. Even the Pinebox stuff is starting to come up on the used market for a couple of the pedals. So yeah, let me know, and I will see you next time.